Hey, welcome to Good Friday and our devotion. Today is, with the exception of Sunday, probably the most celebrated and contemplated day of Holy Week. Today is the day that we turn our eyes and look to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, the sacrifice of Jesus Christ for us. So I want to read for you an account of that found in the book of Luke, in chapter 23. I'm going to start reading at verse 32. Two others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. And Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do." And they cast lots to divide his garment, and the people stood by watching. But the rulers scoffed at him, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself, if he is Christ of God, his chosen one." And the soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine, and saying, "If you're the king of the Jews, save yourself." And there was also an inscription over him saying, "This is the King of the Jews," clearly put there in mockery. One of the criminals who were hanged railed at him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you're under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we were receiving the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." And then he said to Jesus, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And he said to him, "Truly, I say to you, today you'll be with me in paradise." It is now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour, while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. And then Jesus called out with a loud voice, saying, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last. Now when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, "Certainly this man was innocent." And all the crowds that had assembled for the spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, returned home, beating their breasts. And when all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching these things. One of the common phrases that you hear about Jesus in faith-based circles is this phrase: he was fully God and fully man. And I think to truly grasp and understand what is happening to Jesus on this day that I just read to you about, you have to understand that the fully man part of Jesus means that he felt every blow, that he felt the sting of the thorns as they pushed them onto his head to crucify him. He felt the nails being driven into his hands and into his feet. He felt the rejection of all of his close friends and his disciples running away from this spectacle. He felt the barbed words of people mocking him. He felt that, and he still went deliberately to the cross for me and for you. He felt the weight not only of the physical encounter of all this, but the weight of the sins of the world, the Bible tells us, were poured out onto this man. Now listen, I've gone through life and I've done some pretty horrific things and had bad seasons of my life that you know what I'm talking about. These things, they weigh on your shoulders. They make it hard to breathe. They feel like it's constricting your chest. And that's just my own garbage. Jesus took the garbage of me. He took the garbage of you. He took the garbage of all mankind that ever was or ever will be, and he hung there deliberately to pay the price for us, to gain us full-blown access to God the Father for all time and all eternity. And he did it with such beautiful intent that the only thing that was on his mind during this horrific event was saving others. He says, "Father, forgive them," right after they nail him to a cross. Listen, if you nail me to a cross, my forgiveness of you isn't even going to be on my radar. Okay, but Jesus says, "God, forgive them. They have no idea what they're doing." And then in the encounter with the thief on the cross, that this man, he was saying, "Hey, listen, I get the society says I deserve this. Me and my compatriot over there that's mocking Jesus, we deserve this. We've done something to deserve this. Our lives, society have said, are forfeit." And whatever he did, thief or more, he was agreeing, "Yes, I get it. But then he turns to Jesus and he says, Jesus, would you remember me when you go into your kingdom? Would you remember me when you go into heaven? And in that moment, he's proclaiming his belief and his faith in Jesus Christ. And because it is faith and faith alone that saves us, Jesus looks at him and says, today, you're going to be with me in paradise. I love that story because that guy didn't have time to get up off the cross and get baptized. He didn't have time to go get up off the cross and start going to church, be a good person, give money to the poor, help those less fortunate. He didn't have time to go serve a mission. He didn't have time to do any of that. And Jesus says, because your faith in me and faith alone is what it takes, you're going to be with me. What an amazing God we serve. So on this day, on this Good Friday, that I'll be honest with you, when I was a kid, I really wondered why we call it Good Friday when it's the day that we turn our minds to the crucifixion of Jesus. But then as I got older and I understand God in my intellect and in my spirit, which is the most important part to understand this is indeed a Good Friday. This is indeed a great day, remembering the great thing that our God has done for us. So brothers, sisters, in your quieting of yourself today, in your stilling of yourself today, to remember what Jesus did for us, remember that it's good. And most importantly, remember that it's Friday, but Sunday's on the way. God bless you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.